Hey guys, Anthony here. This is a quick video, well it's probably going to be 20 minutes, on how to set up the Cardano settlement layer on a Linux server. So the reason why we're doing this is because of the proof of stake. Proof of stake is coming out in a couple of months, we hope, which allows Cardano mining. Now, why are we setting up the Cardano settlement layer on Linux if nothing is released yet? The software itself will most likely be very similar. The process will most likely be very similar. One of the reasons why is because if we look in the code, and I'll open it up here, we can already see that there's already a technology being built in for the proof of stake. So there we go. So all the proof of stake technology is being built in. So most likely this is going to be, just updated. That the Cardano SL will include the proof of stake technology. There won't be like a new thing that you need to install. It will most likely be just a later version of the software that we're installing now. So there's a couple of things we need to set up. What we're going to do is we're going to set it up on a Google Cloud. The reason why Google Cloud, again, Amazon Cloud, same concept. A lot of people that want to do proof of stake mining might want to do it under a Windows PC or on any other PC. But if you set it up on a server, it's a lot more useful because you can leave it there somewhere on the cloud. You don't have to look after it, and it just does what it needs to do. So we'll start up with setting up the Google Cloud server. We'll configure the Cardano SL, we could configure the Daedalus wallet, and then we'll also set up VNC so we can actually use the Daedalus wallet as well. So the settlement layer itself doesn't require the wallet, but of course, if you want to do proof of stake mining, it needs to go somewhere, and the wallet at the moment is not available on a shell version or console version. So let's begin by actually opening up our Google console. So I'll put some links down below as well, where you can actually log in. And Google has a nice giveaway. Let me find it for you. Google Console, Google Cloud. It's called the free tier, which is this thing over here, where you can actually go for free credit for any Google Cloud product, which means that $300 can be used to build your VM. So I already done one, and we're just going to build another one just to show you how it's done. All the codes, all the scripts that I'm using are going to be linked as well below. So they're done by somebody else, and I'm just copying what they are doing, and we'll go through the process step by step. So at the moment, this is my current VM that we set up, and I can show you when we go to our VM instances. So I've located it in Asia. The reason why I located it in Asia is the majority of Cardano is now based in Asia, in Japan mostly. So just in terms of time delays, I want to have the server as close to the action as possible. I'm not sure if it's going to make a big difference, but while I'm setting it up, might as well. So let's create an instance first to use for our setup. So click create an instance, and then you can use any distribution, but I'm using Ubuntu because I'm comfortable with it. Couple things that I do want to flag, because you could technically use a micro setup or a small one, but what I've noticed is it takes a long time to install. So for the video purposes, I'm going to use a little bit beefier version. I'm going to call this Cardano VM2. Oh yeah, keep in mind all lowercase. Google is very sensitive about this, it might cry, so just put all lowercase, and then I'm gonna set it to southeast. I'll set it on the B. Now, one virtual CPU, so I'm gonna go for true CPUs. I'm also want to set this size to about 30 gigs. Again, at the moment, I think the blockchain is about, I think it's about 10 gigs. So setting it to 30 gigs, and then I'm using Ubuntu 17. Okay, so set this up. Also make sure that you set allow full access to all APIs, and that's when, let's say there's some future tech coming in, you can enable it there as well. So allow HTTP, HTTPS. You don't have to, because the Daedalus, I think, is using port 4900 or something like that, or some other port, but again, we'll look at it when we start building it. So in this case, with this setup, it's going to cost me about $65 per month. So keep that in mind if you run it full time, full blast, that you want to calculate what's your return as well. So once we created it, I'm just using the default setup, the default SSH keys that are set up in Google Cloud. Again, Google Cloud itself, I'm not going to go into too much detail, but I'll show you some links where you can register, and it is pretty straightforward if you just follow the instructions in the video. So this building will take a couple of minutes max. Here you go, it's already up and running. You see how quick that is. And here's my external IP, and if I click on SSH, I can actually log into the server. Okay, so the server is up and running. Again, with the Google Cloud terminal here, you can use Ctrl-V, Ctrl-C, so you can actually copy all the code from this particular script that I'm sharing. So for now, I'm just going to install curl, but I think it should already be installed by default. Yes, it's already installed by default. It's fine. Now we're going to set up NixOS, same concept. So it's downloading the installation script, and then it's running it in there. Keep in mind, you need to have it installed as a user. It doesn't like when you do it on the root, so keep that in mind. And then it's just running the installation. Okay, so these errors around your user environment, don't worry about it, you can just ignore it. The thing will still work fine, and that's really because we're using a cloud VM image that doesn't have a location set. So this link here, this is actually important to understand. This will put you into the shell where we're gonna do all the necessary changes. Okay? So once this is installed, we're ready to go, and we actually need to do a couple of things. So first of all, we need to add some additional config to the site. So I'm making a directory in the etc next directory, and then we're actually gonna use we're going to actually create a config. Cnx.conf. Good. God damn it. Sorry. I didn't have my coffee yet today. There you go. So in this configuration file, we're just going to add 2 lines. And again, they're in the script that I'm sharing. There you go. And this is where we can get the latest keys and cache. So now with the repository set up, we're going to actually clone it from Git. So we're using the standard Git repository, which is the Cardano one, input output HK, and once that's cloned in, we can actually start setting up our settlement layer. So again, it should be pretty straightforward. If you have a quick enough internet connection, you can. Okay, just make sure that we are set to the master branch, and now we can actually build what we have here. So using Nix, we can say Nix build main wallet. Okay, so again, it will complain a little bit about the localization, but it should just keep on going. So this can take a couple of minutes, and then when it's done, we can actually move on to Daedalus already. Okay, so that's completed. Took a couple of minutes. Now, technically, we should already be good to go to actually run the settlement layer. So what we can do is we can do a quick test by just connecting it to the mainnet. we do that by removing back to mainnet. So what it does, it generates the private key for the server, sends it over, and then here you go. We're already connected, we're already retrieving information, you know. So this is kind of done. So what we can do is we can leave it on the background so that it can actually already start syncing up with the blockchain. And I'm just going to open up a new shell. So okay, so new shell. Now one thing that we need to do is we also need to make sure that we have the profile right. So first of all, we're going to start our profile. Let's see if it's under this one. Okay, so by default npm wouldn't be installed, so let's start by doing that actually, because this is necessary for the Daedalus wallet. And as well, what we need to install for the Daedalus wallet is our VNC. Right? So VNC is just a remote desktop application similar that you have for Windows, but this is then for Linux. And that's necessary because the Daedalus wallet needs a GUI. Right? So we'll install npm first, and then we'll get back to actually installing Daedalus. So that's done. Okay, let's start with our Daedalus wallet. So make sure that we are in our own roots. Yeah. And now we're gonna git clone the Daedalus wallet from GitHub. And again, the nice thing is with this version, you're actually gonna get the release candidate, which is one minor version newer than the Windows wallet or the standard wallet that you can download from the web. And we need to do a couple of minor changes here. So first of all, we need to change a line in the packaging, which is called Electron Inspector, which is this one here. You can just delete the entire line, and then we're good to go. And then once we're ready, we can actually start installing this. We can install that. Again, this takes a little time depending on how quick your server is. Because I'm using solid state as well, SSD drives instead of a normal one, it's actually pretty quick. But like I said, if you go for the small or the micro boxes, it will take some time. And what I notice as well is if you're not patient enough, it won't install everything. So just keep an eye on that as well. So we'll let this run, and we'll be back in a couple of minutes again. Okay, so that's done. Took a little bit longer. Took probably about 7 minutes. So we're up and running now. Let's see if it actually works. So what we can do is we can run the build and see what it says. Now, because we don't have VNC installed, it shouldn't work actually, because it will look for somewhere to output the Daedalus wallet. Okay, so this is all installed. Yeah, this is fine, and that's shouldn't be something to worry about. So let's set up our VNC. So again, VNC, very useful, very easy, but what we need to do is we need to install a couple of the basics. So first of all, we're going to install an X server. So it's about 500 megs. So what I'm using is XFCE, which is a lightweight X window, because technically we only need the X to display the Daedalus wallet. We're not going to use the X for anything else. So the lighter the better. Now this is going to take a little bit of installing, but once it's done, we'll continue with the setup. Okay, so as you can see, we got a couple of failed errors, and the reason why is not everything was in sync. That can happen. So just run apt-get update, and you should be good to go. So we just run the update here, and it should finish off the installation that it started. Okay. Now let's double check if everything is now correctly installed. So again, once you did the apt-get update, you have to rerun that other one, but you now see a progress bar where it's actually unpacking and installing the X, and it's installing the VNC server. So once that hits 100%, we're done and we're good to go. I'm not a patient man, as you can tell. Okay, so let's start the VNC server and see if it's correctly installed. Okay, so first time when you run this, it will ask you for a password. So I'll configure this once, and then you don't have to configure it under your profile again anymore. I'm not going to use a view only. Okay, so now it's configured and it's actually up and running. So we can actually use Netcat to see if it's up and running. Okay, so when you do this and you get a response back, you know it's up and running. Of course, what is important is you need to make sure that your Google instance allows this to happen. Now, you can see the firewall rules that are configured on the server. So, gclouds, compute firewall rules list. Okay, so you can see which firewall rules we've configured. Now, I already have configured the VNC over here. Of course, SSH is configured, remote desktop is configured, and as well Cardano 8090. Now, again, this is not necessary because it's actually the local connection from this settlement layer to the wallet. But again, any problems you can always add into it. So if you want to create a new firewall rule, you can use the command line, or you can actually go into your compute engine and then go to your the main level and then go to the VPC network and then firewall rules. So in this case, let's say you want to enable the VNC, just go create a new firewall rule, give it a name, and then just say all instances on the network if you only have one box set up. And then the IP range, you can configure it to your local IP range or just configure it for everything, and then just set the port TCP 5901 and then press create. We'll do the same. Yeah. So pretty straightforward. So once you configured your firewall rules, you should be good to go. Now, in order to use the VNC, and we have it up and running here. You need something called Tight VNC, so you can just download it from the web. Tight VNC server, this thing here. Just download it here. It's very. You can use real VNC as well, same concept, but this one is pretty straightforward. I use it a lot. It's reliable. So once you configure that one, you can actually start connecting to the server. So once you've configured it, what you can do is open your viewer, which is this one here, and then provide the IP address. So this is the external IP address. Throw it in there. And then, of course, port 5901. So if all goes well, you get a prompt to connect. And then once you put it in there, here we go, we get your initial first setup. So we're going to say use default config. So you get your little panel here with your terminal, and that's what we need to actually start the wallet. So let's go start the wallet. So we're already in the Daedalus setup. Now we need to make sure that we are in the correct shell. So this should work already by default. So what we can do is we can actually try a test run, like going npm run dev, and this will build the wallet, and it should pop up if everything works fine. Okay, so I can wait until finished. That looks good. Now, there could be an issue where it doesn't sync or doesn't connect. And that's the nice thing with the terminal. On the background, we can actually see what's going on. So if that's the case, you need to run a special variable in the command line in the shell to avoid this. But we'll give it a couple of seconds more. And in the meantime, we'll look at our settlement layer. Now this thing here as well, we want to actually start running within the terminal. So at the moment we have it on a different shell. Okay, so this thing is compiled correctly. It's only the first time that it takes time. Now here you can see it's up and running. It's connecting to the network, but it's actually not connecting, right? Because we have the network running here, but it doesn't work. So we'll double check. and it has an error, right? Self-error. So what we do is, in order to fix that error, you can just kill this one. And then what we are going to add in there is node Daedalus rejects unauthorized equals 0, and then when we start it, it should run and actually give us some syncing going on. Okay, so it took again a bit longer than expected, but anyway, it's fine. So once it's run, you can actually see the first setup screen that you get with any wallet. So we'll just go through it, accept the terms and conditions, and then you don't send it to the logs because again it's a dev server, and you can already see it's already synced 20% almost, and that was because we had the settlement layer running in the background, right? So after first instance we're already caught up a little bit. The nice thing is you can check the wallet version here, which is 8.3, where the other version is actually 8.2, the Windows version. Yeah. So the only thing we need to do now is actually move this connecting to the mainnet away from this shell and into a new shell on the GUI. So we're going to open a new terminal, and the nice thing is if I stop this one here, you'll see that it will stop connecting to the network. Okay, it doesn't like when you stop it like that, but there you go. See? So now it's connected, waiting for block syncing to start because we stopped it here. So what we can do is we can now start it again here. So it's within the Cardano. Let's connect to mainnet. And while this is working, you should see it connecting to the network, and it will start syncing again. There you go. Okay, so now this is up and running. This is syncing. We're good to go. We can leave this up and running, and we're done. So the nice thing is, so let's say we close it off, come back an hour later or maybe two, again connect it on the same port, and you know it's still up and running, it's still working away, it's doing its thing. So connection refused. This is the first time. This is when I disconnected it. Then it says connection refused, but now it's back on being connected. So Daedalus is happy, and this thing is syncing away. So this is really it. This is really the setup. Took a little bit over 20 minutes, but again, installation times take some time. Maybe in the editing I can cut it down to 20 minutes on live, but no, this is fine. So what's next? Now, what we've just done is we set up the settlement layer, we set up the Daedalus wallet, we set it all up on a Google Cloud server. When proof of stake mining comes out, like I said, hopefully in a couple of months, the setup should be very similar. There won't be a lot different. It might be different in terms of how you start the wallet. But there's already one big difference when it comes to the wallet, and I'll open it on one I did earlier, like the cooking shows. Leave this so I can start this box up. I'm actually going to stop this one here. I don't really care that it's syncing or not because you know we're not there yet. And keep that in mind. You'll do the same. Once you're set up, you know there's no need for keeping this thing up and running until you actually get rewarded for it, because you do pay a monthly fee. Now the beauty with Google Cloud is you only pay when you use the system. So you've built these systems up, but you're not using them, so you're not going to pay for them. So this is a good setup, so you can prepare for the proof of stake mining way in advance, and every time there's a new update you run it up, and as soon as it's released you can be the first ones to actually start the proof of stake. So I have this box here that is set up earlier, and that should be synced well ahead. So I'm gonna start it up, and then I'll show you a couple of differences between the old wallet and the new wallet. Okay, so I have them set up side by side so you can actually see the difference. So this is the Windows wallet. It has a version 0.8.2, and this is the release candidate that you can install, you know, through the GitHub. And let's have a look. So this one has a version 0.8.3. Now, a couple of things different. For example, we have already a shared wallet function. Now I presume this is gonna be part of the proof of stake as well. So join a shared wallet with up to 5 people. Now it's not enabled at the moment, but you know, we have it in there. So let's do a quick test if actually everything is working. So let's call this a test wallet. Okay, so as you can see, we're up and running. I just made a minor change to be able to copy paste information from one to another, because, and again, I'll put the link in there and below. So we're going to send one from our Windows wallet into our new Linux test wallet. Send it over. So it's transaction pending now. The beauty of Cardano, of course, is it's actually very fast when it comes to transactions. Normally the maximum 20-30 seconds that I've seen so far. So this should go in pretty quick. Let me see if this header is correct. And then here you can see low, and here we go in our test wallet. We just received the transaction now. And so that's it. It's pretty straightforward. So hopefully this video was useful. Now I'm gonna put in a link below as well for a sign up if you want to join forces to create a pool or something like that, or if you want to donate some ADA to myself so I can make some more of these videos. Would all be great. Either way, I hope it was useful, and any comments, just leave them below as well.